Good afternoon, everyone. My utmost gratitude for inviting us to present our report, Market Profiling of Potential Natural Gas Users in Economic Zones. Thank you to GPDP for the invitation. It is also an honor to present this before our colleagues from the government, private sector, and development partners. My name is Karl Jandoc. I'm an associate professor at the University of the Philippines School of Economics, and I'm presenting on behalf of my co-authors, Dr. Ravago of Ateneo, National Scientist Raul Fabella, and soon to be Dr. Renzi Frias of the School of Statistics at GPDP. As we have heard last Monday in President Marcos's SONA and also from Ernest earlier, that natural gas will hold the key in assuring cheap and reliable energy and to bridge us towards renewables. But the development of the natural gas industry will not happen in a vacuum. It requires close coordination of activities and investments in the supply side, as well as assuring a stable and robust market on the demand side. This study examines how a potentially large market for natural gas can be developed in the Philippines. In particular, we examine special economic zones or SEZs. Locators or firms in SEZs possess specialized facilities, equipment, and technology that can take advantage of the availability of natural gas. In the study, we describe the energy-intensive activities and operations of SEZ firms, which are located in CALABARZON, Clark, Subic, and Bataan. We conducted a survey to determine, among other things, the interest of these locators to switch to natural gas. In addition, we undertook a detailed discussion with Tokyo Gas in order to identify the economic, technical, and technological requirements for switching. Okay, the details of the survey in our study can be found in our report. But what we essentially did is an online survey via the platform SurveyMonkey sometime in September and October 2021 among PESA-registered firms in Region 4, Region 4A, Subic, Clark, and Bataan ecozones. This survey was a follow-up, as was just said, on a related exercise that we did before the pandemic on a smaller set of ecozones. In this survey, we obtained company information, data regarding production and operations, sources of energy and fuels used in production. Apart from these, we also gathered data on consumption and expenditures on utilities, knowledge on fuel use, environmental issues, and even questions on business operations during the COVID period. We have interviewed 283 firms or locators in our sample, which is above our target of 234 firms. Our respondents were a combination of directors, managers, or officers in departments responsible for production, finance, human resource, facilities, and equipment. Our first set of results relates to the firm's openness to switch to using natural gas. Most of the firms we surveyed, unsurprisingly, were not open to switch. About 61% of our total sample said they are not open to switching to natural gas. When we look inside ecozones, we see that this pattern holds. In general, that is, most locators reported that they were not willing to switch to natural gas. Of those who are open to switch, 10% of these firms use diesel. So it's in this red slice over there in the left panel, which we know is more expensive and relatively dirtier. So diesel is a likely fuel that will be displaced by natural gas use, if and when it becomes available. So those who are predisposed to switch also heavily use electricity in production. So in our sample, 91% of firms reported that their electricity are supplied by Meralco, Larry's over there, or an electric cooperative. Okay, so 39% of these firms, which are supplied by Meralco or an electric cooperative, reported that they are open to switch to natural gas. when it becomes available. The production activity that heavily uses diesel and electricity are the following. So air compression or vacuuming, cooking, chilling, fabrication, transportation, forklift operation, and boiler operation. Some of these processes are amenable for using natural gas. Okay. When we look at the size of the firm, we see that a slightly higher proportion of firms with assets or sales 1 billion pesos and below are more likely to be open to switching. But this result is not overwhelming. What we do see, however, is that exporters have a higher proportion than average in reporting openness to switching. 44% of exporters report that they are open to switch. So this probably reflects different incentives or even competitive pressures to lower costs among exporters compared to firms that sell primarily domestically. Our next slides, which are results relating to knowledge and perception regarding natural gas use. Okay, so we asked our respondents on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being advanced, of their appraisal of their knowledge extent regarding natural gas as fuel. As we can see, most of the respondents tend to report limited knowledge. Okay? And those who report limited knowledge are more likely not open to switch to natural gas, as seen by the red bars over there. The first 3 red bars. So I think there's an intimate correlation between knowledge and the likelihood of switching. And this points to the importance of information dissemination activities towards promoting natural gas use. We also asked locators about their perception on safety of natural gas use. So we asked them, do you think natural gas is safe to use in your production process? Here we see that more than half of the respondents believe that natural gas is safe to use. So in addition, those who think it's safe to use, 67% are open to switching. So if they believe that natural gas is safe to use, most of them are likely to switch. Okay? Now compare that to the other bar on the right. So that other bar, this one, are those who responded that they think natural gas is not safe to use. So when we look at that contrast, those who believe that natural gas is unsafe, 93% of them, an overwhelming number, are not open to switching. Okay, so the correlation between switching to natural gas is even stronger to the perception of safety. So the results is also similar on the perception of Can you move one slide? Next slide, Renzi. Yeah, this one's not working. So the results are almost similar regarding perception of cost competitiveness. We asked respondents whether natural gas is cost competitive compared to the fuel that they are currently using. Now, as you can see, for those who believe that natural gas is cost competitive, 53% are open to switch. So if they believe na may laban ng natural gas, most of them will likely to switch, are more likely to switch. For those who doubt the cost competitiveness of natural gas, 83% or 117 over 126 are not open to switch. So another crucial factor, Renzi, next slide please. Another crucial factor for the decision to switch is the availability of infrastructure within the ecozone. Okay? So in particular, we asked the respondents whether they would consider switching if there was a fueling or regasification facility present inside their ecozone. If there was such a facility, 65% of the firms report that they are likely to switch. Without such facility, 93% said that they were not open to switch. Next slide, Renzi. So if firms were to switch to natural gas, diesel would likely be the fuel to be replaced in production, backup generation, and also self-generation. So 41% of firms that were open to switch, which is 46 out of 111, reported that they will replace diesel in production, while 36% or 40 out of 111 reported that they will replace diesel as their backup fuel. Fuel for backup generation. Now this bodes well for the environment since natural gas is cleaner than other traditional fossil fuels. Next, Renzi. Next. So a major component of our study is to determine the economic, technical, and technological requirements for switching to natural gas. To this end, we engage in a consultative discussion with our friends in Tokyo Gas, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, natural gas utility company in Japan. What we have found, perhaps unsurprisingly, is that we rarely can impose a one-size-fits-all approach to natural gas adoption by firms. What is needed is a series of careful on-site inspections to determine the suitability of equipment and the level of technology needed to optimize natural gas use. And so since switching is costly, the payback period is computed on a case-to-case basis and will largely be determined by the type of facilities and their condition. Next, Renzi. There are two main types of natural gas distribution systems: direct connection via pipeline and delivery via lorry. Each mode will have their advantages and disadvantages and will affect the technological requirements faced by the firms in its decision to switch. However, if there are existing pipelines, for instance, pipelines delivering LPG, this will likely be replaced since natural gas possesses a lower calorie per volume than LPG, and LPG pipelines may not be amenable to transport natural gas. So next slide, Renzi. Delivering over pipelines also requires different pressures for different types of customers. Large industrial users use middle pressure pipelines, while residential and smaller businesses will require mid-low to low pressure pipes. Next. So ownership, construction, and maintenance of the pipes also depend on the boundaries of the property. So ownership and maintenance are typically shouldered by the customers for equipment within the customer's property. Construction can be sometimes shouldered by the gas company or the customer. If there are several users that share a property, such as those in the ecozones, the capital investments may be shared or divided among them. So apart from gas, the second delivery mode is via lorries. This is recommended only if customers are within a 200-kilometer radius from the source storage tank. Beyond 200 kilometers, there are complications regarding logistics, and therefore, beyond 200 kilometers, delivery via pipeline is recommended. In addition, in situ or on-site storage tanks will be needed, and this will differ from existing LPG tanks that sometimes are present in the companies located in our ecozones. So Tokyo Gas recommends that the volume of a storage tank should accommodate one full lorry, next slide, Renzi, 3 days worth of stockpile and a buffer for safety. So for example, for an 80 kiloliter tank, 14 tons should come from the lorry, another 19 tons as reserve, and 10%, and there must be a 10% safety margin. Next. The technical specifications for lorry should also consider whether the roads to the facilities can accommodate the size of the lorry. So this slide shows the dimensions of a typical mid-size and large-size lorry. So in choosing a lorry, you must also consider the width of the road going to the ecozones. Next. So the ISO tanks are typically owned or leased, maintained and constructed by the customer. Purchasing ISO tanks makes economic sense only if the annual LNG use or consumption is 1 million cubic meters or higher annually. Okay. Next, Renzi. Switching to natural gas also involves retrofitting equipment. But unfortunately, our respondents in our survey are rarely familiar with some of the high-efficiency equipment that Tokyo Gas mentioned, such as Tundish preheater, oxy-fuel combustion burner, and the like. I don't pretend I know these things, but so does like respondents in our ecozones. Next slide, Renzi. So there are understandable reasons why firms are hesitant to switch to natural gas. Naturally, switching may entail variation in quality due, for instance, to change in flame shape or brightness, which could be experienced by facilities that use glass melting or heating. Okay? Moreover, switching may not be economical given the high cost of fuel conversion. And in addition, some firms cannot afford a disruption in their operations during switching. Okay? So this disruption cost is heavier for firms that operate round the clock 24/7 with very few downtimes. Next slide, Renzi. There are other results in the report, such as environmental concerns, which I will skip for now. Those who are interested, however, can obtain a copy from the GPDP team once clearances are obtained. Okay, so to conclude, we find that the openness to switch depends on many factors, including knowledge and perception about natural gas use, as well as the type of production process of the firm. Next slide, Renzi. What we see, though, is that the push for cost competitiveness will likely encourage some of the firms to adopt natural gas, as evidenced by a higher proportion of exporters who are open to switch. What we also see is that the infrastructure needed is crucial. For instance, the presence of regasification facilities inside special economic zones for firms that will sway them towards switching. This is one of the bottlenecks in the market that needs to be solved by both the government and the private sector. And so with this, I would like to thank you all for your attention. If there are any questions, the study team would be more than happy to answer them. Again, thank you everyone.